Hello and welcome to another episode of the Symphonic podcast. My name is Bernardo Miethe.
And I'm Andrew Owen.
Today we're going to be talking about Thomas Adès, right? Is that how you say it?
Adès.
Adès.
It's a fun English name.
Yeah. And some of the information that we got for today, like we've been doing daily, is from the Oxford Music Online. And also we got some program notes from the LA Phil program, concert hall, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So who is Thomas Adès?
So Thomas Adès, he is the first composer we've studied so far who is still living. He was born in 1971 in London. He's an English composer. While he was learning how to compose, he studied piano with Paul Berkowitz. He studied composition with Robert Saxton over at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London. Saxton was a student of Benjamin Britten and Luciano Berio and several other people. So we do have the sort of the lineage of composers that we tend to be looking for. But Adès had one early success as a performer very, very early on.
Mm-hmm. He won the second prize playing piano with the BBC Young Musician of the Year competition in 1989. And his rise to prominence as a composer was very fast. He got some commissions from the Halle Orchestra, the London Sinfonietta, the Almeida Opera, and the City of Birmingham Symphonic Orchestra.
Yeah, the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra they must be pretty darn good, because I mean I've been listening to them play Adès' music, just several works of his.
It's good.
Outrageously difficult music to read.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into that in a second. Mm-hmm. This music is nuts. So Thomas Adès also had has had various residencies in addition to those commissions. So he's doing well for a composer living in today's society. He has served for quite some time as the music director of the Birmingham Contemporary Music Group. So he interacts a lot with the city of Birmingham. Mm-hmm. He's been a teacher at the Royal Academy of Music for a while, and he conducts. In 1999, he received both the Ernst von Siemens Prize and the Grawemeyer Award, and became the joint artistic director of the Aldeburgh Festival. These are all big accolades for being a conductor.
Mm-hmm. And his composition showed exceptional assurance of style and technique from the beginning, from the get-go.
He's very aware of what he's doing,
mm-hmm.
start to finish.
Yeah, his success had much to do with the unmistakable presence of a personal accent in music. He's got a vividness of detail. His scores are next to impossible to follow without a little practice.
I mean,
of course.
really, this stuff is outrageous.
Yeah, it's hard. It sounds hard. The music has a clear sense of compelling overall design. On one listen, one can really enjoy and understand the music.
Yeah, it's something that sort of contrasts. I mean, he's really detail-oriented. If you look at one of his scores, it sounds aleatoric when you hear it. It sounds like the performers are just being told to do whatever they want to do. But you look at the score, it's very precisely written. Everything is a triplet or something over it. But at the same time, there's a clear sense of you can always hear the structure of the piece pretty clearly. Mm-hmm. So he uses very well-established compositional genres in his own writing, mostly chamber music, but some very large works. He wrote a chamber opera called Powder Her Face, which is about a sex-crazed duchess. And the way that he sets that opera is in the same vein as Salome, however you want to say it, Salome. Mm-hmm. Same tradition of that, but still very intimate with the chamber opera way. But in any case, he's written chamber operas, he's written string quartets, such as Arcadiana, and he has used several things of the symphonic form, such as a chamber symphony and a scylla. So his music often alludes to specific models, while nevertheless keeping its distance from them. It's obviously not going to be very clear-cut symphonic form, not a sonata form or anything like that. It's going to be something new every time he does something.
Yeah, definitely. So Adès tends to use titles to establish allusions to extra musical factors. In two compositions in particular, like Living Toys and Asila, the musical response of salient images is exceptionally imaginative. Like in Living Toys, he evokes the world of a child who dreams of being a hero dancing with angels and bulls before dying in battle. He does this with magical and menacing sound imagery.
Right. Living Toys is just you have a title, and it's very descriptive, and the piece sort of spins out of its own title. Like in Asila, the other piece Bernardo mentioned it here is a work that has a kind of ambiguity in the title, Asila, which I guess is sort of the plural of asylum. Asylum, you know, more than one asylum might be Asila, though we'd say asylums in English. But yeah, Asila is a metaphor for the 20th century's special blend of extreme comfort and cruelty, stability and instability. The title inspires a symphonic process in which the functional contrast between clear-cut basic ideas and richly inventive orchestral presentation can be appreciated at the first hearing. Asila was premiered by the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra with Simon Rattle in '97.
Nice.
I mean, the City of Birmingham can handle just about anything, apparently. I mean, these are some pretty hard pieces, and they're really interesting to listen to.
Especially under him, right? Under Rattle.
Yeah, his delight in creating and sustaining tension through the accumulation of distinct, elaborately patterned layers of texture suggests an affinity with Charles Ives. In fact, if you're listening to this kind of music, if you're listening to Adès' music and you don't know any better, you might just think it's Charles Ives, but maybe with a slightly different language. Charles Ives, of course, is the American composer from around the turn of the 20th century who would constantly combine all kinds of different kinds of music into one big sound painting. I mean, his favorite sound was the sound of two approaching marching bands playing different music in two different streets. But yeah, he mixes a love of romantic expression. You know, he's not trying to completely divorce himself from listenable music or from romantic music, because he still seems to draw from those things. But he also uses intricate sound tapestries that we'd expect to hear in Ligeti and these modernist composers.
Which is why I like this piece. I mean, I am not very fond of 20th century, very clashing music. It's not my favorite. But of course, I mean, I've performed it, and I understand its position in history, and I know why it's important. But it's not my favorite. But this composition is really good. I mean, it's not bad.
It has a clear purpose, which helps a lot. You know where he's going. You know why there's that clashing.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Adès occasionally uses pop-inspired musical ideas in works like Life Story, which is a setting of a Tennessee Williams poem about a one-night stand.
Oh yes, it's a hilarious poem. I think if you haven't read it, or it's if you're there after a one-night stand, after having done the deed. You're going to have a conversation to try and get to know each other a little bit. You want to know everything about them, and then the punchline at the end of the thing. And this is how people die in fires caused by cigarettes in their hands. I mean, it's a really strange poem. It's kind of funny. Life Story for bass and soprano. So really hard stuff.
So another pop-inspired music is, like you mentioned, Power Her Face. Which you already explained what it was, and also his chamber ensemble transcript of the British new wave pop song "Cardiac Arrest" by the band Madness, who also did Our House.
Our House in the middle. The one he did was Cardiac Arrest.
Which I haven't heard.
Dun, 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 dun. It's just this happy little thing about don't take life so seriously. Just a new wave song that he transcribes into a chamber ensemble work. It sounds great. So the piece that we are talking about today does not use so much pop-inspired things. It's one of the non-poppy kind of pieces that he's written. It's called America, a Prophecy. This is a work that's about 15 minutes long. It's basically an orchestral lied, an orchestral song. It's for an orchestra, for a solo mezzo-soprano, and an optional chorus. It was commissioned for the New York Philharmonic Orchestra's Millennium Messages program. About 6 composers or so were commissioned to write music about the end of the last millennium and the beginning of this one. And so this one was performed near the end of the last millennium on November 11, 1999. It was premiered by the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, sung by Beth Clayton and conducted by Kurt Masser.
Nice. It lasts about 50 minutes, like you said. The orchestration, it includes 4 flutes, which are divided. 3 play flute, and then the 4th is piccolo. The 3rd and the 4th flutes play piccolo as well. We have 4 oboes, 2 clarinets, one bass clarinet, one contrabass clarinet, 4 bassoons. The fourth also serves as contrabassoon. We have 4 horns, 3 trumpets, the first being the piccolo trumpet, 2 trombones, 1 bass trombone, a tuba, a timpani, then big percussion. We have bass drum, field drums, or tom-toms, rattle, rototoms, snare drum, tam-tam with rubber ball, tempo bells, tenor drums. Wow, that's a lot. We also have harp, piano strings, and of course, like you said, the choir and the mezzo. So it's a very, very big orchestra.
And if you love piccolos, boy, this is the piece for you. Like, it's loud and high for a lot of it. I mean, just a lot of the imagery that he draws from there.
Oh, and so like you said, this is one of 6 composers invited by Kurt Masur and the New York Philharmonic to provide messages for the millennium, like you said.
Just pieces that try and give some kind of something related to the eve of 2000, the eve of the new millennium. Mm-hmm. So Adès turns his gaze from 1,000 years ahead to 500 back. He looks for his message in the events of the Spanish conquest of the Mayan people in the Yucatan Peninsula. Mm-hmm. So the music shows 2 sides of the coin. It doesn't seem to favor the Mayans or the Spanish. It seems that Adès' music is trying to deliver both just as they are.
Yeah, being historic instead of...
He's using their words. Mm-hmm. I mean, he draws from Mayan text and from Spanish text, just to show the two, and all around that time. Not trying to say that one is bad and one is good, just saying this is what happened. So yeah, the Maya music of America prophecy as it first appears is both blissfully simple, has this rotating pattern of 3 then 4 notes, and then constricted and dogged and numbed in sensibility. The music of the Mayans, of this Mayan prophet that's speaking, is very restricted to only a few notes and doesn't really have a lot of exuberance. It doesn't have much of, I mean, it has a very distinct character that is just part of Adès' texture.
Mm-hmm. And as it changes and develops, it maintains this duality, becoming at once exuberant and a stern exercising control.
Oh yeah.
Similarly, the Spanish music, when it burst in halfway through, after 4 warnings, about not only with warlikeness, but with a wild, free excitement, pushing up into flamboyant decorations for 3 trumpets, one of them small and extra high, the piccolo trumpet, of course.
It is a little instrument. Yeah, so this whole passage is based on an ensalada, which is a musical salad of popular melodies, entitled La Guerra, written by the Spanish composer Mateo Flecha. Quite possibly at the very time when the Maya were being subdued, when they were being, I guess, conquered and whatnot, in the 1530s, 1540s, around that time. So the militant Christianity of the choir's text comes from the same source. But while Adès lets the words speak for themselves, he does set the music prismatically. He bends rhythms and harmonies. He adds whole new swashes and sways of texture and makes his own additions that include one incursion of Maya music.
Mm-hmm. And there is no real Maya music to be quoted. Of course, we don't know about any Maya.
They did not write down melodies, the Mayan people.
So
they didn't have notation.
Mm-hmm. Of course, not only because the Spanish did everything they could to obliterate everything Maya, but also because, like you said, there's no notation that we have from them, musical notation. Words, though, did survive, passed down and copied through the centuries. The prophecy lament here comes from the books of the Chilam Balam, which is jaguar seers. Seers?
Seers, yeah.
Seers.
Like a
jaguar seers.
Yeah, like not a person who sees a jaguar, but a person who, I guess, foretells things. Mm-hmm. I don't know why jaguars are that way, but maybe they see it in their visions or something. Mm-hmm. But this is a very old book. It's it's from around that time when they already are aware that the Spanish are there. It's by that time already. But this particular poem out of this Chilambalam book is it refers to the destruction of the Mayan people by the Spanish, which had not yet happened.
Mm-hmm. So she sings like like a seer indeed, mostly in slow, sure phrases in the strong middle register, increasing in speed only as she registers alarm that they will come. Words to which she takes up the initial Maya motif.
They will come, they will come, they will come, they will come. So her song could well be the sacred chant of a lost culture. It leans towards old modes with a flavor of B. Dorian early on, sure. Just sort of that older sound, folky sound. But it still ensconces itself comfortably in the rainbow world of Adès' harmony. Just it's a big swash of sound. So does the Maya music of the introduction. The wobbling, warbling iteration is soon embraced in and part of a forest of polyphony. Just this outrageous, I mean, this really neat basic mode of da 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 is all part of this giant forest of polyphony. So it rests between a bass line that develops into a hubbub in the low winds and a high treble traced overhead by piano and with string harmonics in the strings when they just tap on the string and create these really high pitches.
And all these collide and set up interference patterns in between breaks for the voice. Marches of downward chords join in until the whole hyper-alive texture vanishes up into a counterpoint of camel bells. A second section, the dream sequence, starts with wide oscillating flutes and slow contrapuntal streams, like currents in a sluggish river of which the voice becomes one.
It's so organic, this whole thing. So then, as the singer exactly repeats, "Oh my nation," "Oh my nation," immediately there's this big representation of the Spanish. So you have these intimations of the Spanish music that beforehand lead up to this full-scale musical battle. And just this, you can imagine, as soon as you hear it, you sense the
battle, the war.
You just see all these Spanish people just marching in droves in their little funny helmets made of tin. Just going in and just singing about, well, the section is very loud. As I mentioned before, the Spanish music features a solo piccolo trumpet, giving it this distinctive military but still Baroque sound. I mean, it's clearly harkening back to an older time.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that particular sound is about 200 years later, but still, I mean, you have this old sound where you just the super high trumpet. So really it's the first time also that we've had any kind of meter in the whole piece. Before it has not sounded like there's just any meter, just sort of goes on fluidly. And you'd think, what's the conductor even doing? And can you imagine conducting this piece? So this piece, if you look at the score, there's nothing on a beat. Everything is tied or tuplet, and just everything feels off somehow, but it all works out in the end. I don't know how anyone reads this stuff, or how they can follow a conductor just giving beats and they just sort of figure out where to go around it.
Practice. They said the same thing about the Rite of Spring.
Oh, sure. Rite of Spring has beats.
True. Well, the last movement is crazy though. The last movement. Sure. Oh man, it's hard to conduct that one.
It goes pretty nuts, but with this piece, I mean, it stays in a pretty clear time. Everything that he says, everything that happens in this piece happens in very strict time. In fact, there's a point right early on in the piece where the big swash of sound and the piccolo's swirling up to the very top, and all you have left is what sounds like wind chimes. It's not wind chimes; it's actually carefully notated percussion parts that sound like wind chimes. You listen really closely; it's the Mayan motive being played in the percussion. Just really well done music.
I'm so excited that you are so into this music because
it's fun.
No, because I mean it's great that we have this contrast. I'm very romantic, I guess you can say, and you have this modern take on music, which I love.
Well, still, I mean it's pretty enjoyable modern music. I think most folks.
It's still great. I mean that's great for us, right? We're learning something that at least something that I'm not very comfortable with. So that's great.
I mean, I had never even really heard of Respighi before doing the podcast.
So all of these introduce a chorus that sings about war of eternal glory. In fact, Eterna Gloria is the last beat heard in huge block chords by the chorus and orchestra. This immediately disappears to just the mezzo-soprano, giving the impression of all that being a wash of prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, you just have Eterna Gloria, and then just silence, and all you hear is just the soprano just in straight tone. And that's another thing to point out. Is that there is straight tone, not because that's the singer's choice, but because the score indicates when to and when not to use a vibration. So like it says, senza vibrato sempre, like no vibrato always, until it says maybe on a note, poco vibrato, maybe just a little vibrato here, maybe some less here, and so the singer has to follow these directions exactly to be correct to the score.
I hope more composers from now on start doing that, because
fun, right?
That's one thing that always musicians don't know what to do with vibrato. Should we put vibrato? Should we not put vibrato? And it's like the war in classical music: vibrato or no vibrato. Don't even get
all resolved with Thomas Adès, and then there are other composers who specify when to use vibrato or not. In fact, Berio, who is Adès' teacher's teacher, did that in some of his vocal compositions as well.
That's great.
I mean, yeah, it's fascinating the way that there's no guesswork in any of this stuff. If you follow the score exactly, you have
exactly what he wanted.
The same thing. Exactly.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. So there follows, as a separate movement, what is both elegy and heart awakening. Instrument partly echo the singer's beautiful melody, as if trying to imitate it and not getting it quite right, until trumpets triumphantly take it over.
Right. So at the very end of the piece, the singer ruefully assures that, and this is at the very end of the piece after it's a two-movement work, and it's at the end of the second movement. The singer assures that even though the Mayans will be destroyed, don't worry, Ash feels no pain. And that's this is an old text, and this is something that they're really describing in a very morose way, but Ash feels no pain. Very emo thought, if you ask me. But it works. So the end of the piece might be the chilling of ember to ash in 4 final chords. Just you see the fire of destruction end into just the ashes. It's really quite well designed stuff.
It's also interesting. We don't see a lot of pieces in 2 movements. That's something that already. If you're going into an orchestra concert and you look at your program and you see a piece that has 2 movements, that's a red flag. There is something weird about that piece, no matter what. Something is wrong or something is special about it. And of course, of course, this piece was written 15 years or 16 years ago.
Yeah, not too far off, yeah.
So that's why, that's how you know it's something that is not exactly classical, I guess.
We have Pythagoras to thank for our lack of comfort with the number 2. No, it's just one of those things. Yeah, the piece has 2 movements. One which describes the poem, and the second movement which is sort of, okay, it's over, kind of morose stuff. So I'm going to read the text that it sets. It's actually very short. This is taken again from that Mayan book of poetry and prophecy, I guess, if you will. Or just it's traditional poetry that had gone on and had been written down. So the text that the mezzo-soprano sings is, "O my nation, prepare. The people move as if in dreams. They are weak from fuck and drink. The prophets and the priests are blind. In his bed the governor weeps. It is the end of all our ways. O my nation, prepare. They will come from the east. Their God stands on the pole. They will burn all the land. They will burn all the sky. They will break with a cross. O my nation, your gods, your fathers, your children, your cities will fall. Your trees will be scaffolds. They'll be burned. They will rule from the backs of your fallen. It is foretold. Prepare."
And then comes the Spanish part, which reads, "Todos los buenos soldados que asentaren a esta guerra no quieren ir descansados. Si salieren con victoria, la paga que les darán será que siempre tendrán en el cielo eterna gloria." And that translates to, all the good soldiers who enlist in this war do not seek for rest. If they emerge with victory, the pay they will be given shall be that they will be forever have in heaven eternal glory.
It's an old text, so the word order is kind of funny.
Definitely, the Spanish is very strange as well.
Yeah, it's from the 16th century. So that's the first movement's text. So you have the Mayan describing this destruction, and then you have the Spaniards coming in going, let's be part of the destruction. So, it's their words too. These words by Flecha are the words from that time. Just describing what's going on, and then the Mayan prophecy is Mayan words describing all these images, like their god stands on the pole. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Who could that be, right?
Yeah.
Just really interesting images. So the second movement's text is burn, burn, burn. On earth we shall burn. We shall turn to ash. Drift across the land, over the mountains, out to sea. Weep, weep, weep. And just it repeats it over and over again. But know this well, ash feels no pain. And at that, as she's going on about ash feeling no pain, ash, 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 the chorus comes back in singing in Latin, the language of the church. Ec est victoria qua vincit mundum fides nostra. This is the victory by which our faith conquers the world. It's just, I mean, sure, maybe it makes the Spanish look a little bad, but
that's how you conquer.
That's how you conquer, right? That's the name of the game. But no, it's but this piece is just a brilliant setting of those two sides of this conflict, and these two sides coming together in this prophecy, the trying to show something that's cataclysmic that's going to happen in the future.
I'm super excited for this episode because it's something, at least for me, is very new.
Oh yeah,
and I hope. I mean,
it's not something people really ever talk about. I mean,
yeah, and especially because it's so new. I assume that a lot of people haven't heard this piece.
Sure.
Because it's, I mean, 16 years. We're hard. Our conductors are really hard on new pieces.
Sure.
And it's been that way forever. You know, when Beethoven was composing, when Mozart was Mozart maybe not so much, but when Beethoven was composing, everybody didn't like.
Once we had the repertoire in place,
yeah.
Maybe we didn't feel like adding so much new stuff.
Yeah.
At least, especially in the 19th century, where you have people who really have this core of music, and so you hear less of the less important people. They decide who's important and who's not important. So Thomas Adès has not yet gotten to a place of importance or unimportance. He's just composing music. That is, when it's done, people really do seem to like it because it's extremely well-designed stuff and it sounds fantastic. And it is on Spotify. If you want to listen to the whole thing and have a Spotify account, it's quite nice.
I'll put the link for the Spotify one. Are we good?
I think we're great.
Great, thank you.
Cool.
So, like we always say, thank you for listening, and you can check our videos in the YouTube space, but you can also listen to us in our iTunes account. We always appreciate any ratings that you can give us because that helps exposure to our podcast. If you have any questions or concerns or anything that you want to tell us or correct us, our email is symphonicpodcast@gmail.com. Is that it?
That's all I've
Till next time. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
That was good, dude.
Isn't it fun to do a piece no one's done?